Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests. Welcome to Wakefield Waymakers meeting number 1. Can I just have a quick round of hands if you're a guest here? Hi, Dan Deighton, Division N Director. My confidence since I joined Toastmasters has changed so much. When I first joined, I was really socially awkward and uncomfortable and unable to look people in the eyes like we're doing right now. And it was only through coming and joining Sheffield Speakers, which was my club at the time, that I was able to start looking people in the eyes and having interpersonal relationships and communication skills. And over time, those built and built and built, and I became more and more confident. As I said, my name is Dan and I'll be your Sergeant at Arms this evening, which is basically a fancy way of saying the person that opens and closes the meeting and lets you know of any health and safety stuff. So if there is a fire or any accidents or any problems, please jump out the window or just run out of those doors there, please, down the stairs. I now get to be the Division Director of 21 public speaking clubs. And all along the way, each challenge that you have to do in public speaking, in standing up in front of a room, sometimes at last minute notice, or helping people build a new club, for example, like we're doing today here in Wakefield, has helped me build my confidence to being absolutely sky high. And I couldn't recommend being part of Toastmasters anymore. Our Toastmaster for this evening, Mr. Phil Heath.
Thanks, Dan. Well, very welcome guest. Are there guests? Welcome. No, don't worry.
No, she's a member.
All right, member, great stuff. I think most of us are. We started Wakefield a few years ago, 2012 I think it was, and we then ran 2012, 2013, I think we got into 2014. We got to 12 members and everybody said, oh, it's a great little group, is this? We need visitors, but it's a great little group, is this? And we just couldn't get the impetus to get any further. And so we decided that we'd have to call it a draw. And then some months ago, Dan sent round a WhatsApp saying, I want to open a new club in Wakefield, Liverpool. Oh, put me down for Wakefield, I'll help. And that's how this impetus started. So I walked around the whole city of Wakefield looking for venues. And my daughter's wedding was in this room, so I thought, oh, it's a nice room, nice place, great staff, let's go there. So we decided we'd stay here, so now we've got the Wakefield Waymakers. And welcome to you all. So Toastmasters is huge. It's the largest hobby in the world. I say that because and what we've got is, I've just got my little notes here, 265,000 members. Soon to be 265,020 when we get Wakefield chartered. It's in 150 countries and there are over 13,500 members worldwide. So we are a small cog in a very, very large wheel. And that's where we start from. Well, let's start Toastmasters in this region. It's been around a while in the Leeds area. We started the club 2002 it was. So we've been around quite a long time in Leeds. And since that time, we've spawned a number of clubs throughout the region. Some of the people here have been members of those clubs as we've grown the region. And the idea is that we also create not just confident communicators, we create leaders. And leaders are people like Dan, Division Director. We have area directors. We have leaders at the club. People who can lead, who can take part in roles. And we'll have a session in the second half where Alice will then tell us all about the leadership roles and how those can impact you as an individual in your outside world, in that world outside, in my job, in my life. So we create confidence through communication, but we also create confidence through leadership skills. And that's what Toastmasters is all about. So huge group, but now we've got the best group in town. And Dan mentioned Sheffield, so when I was at Leeds, we had a group of us. Anthony went north and headed up to Newcastle and opened Newcastle. Michael went east and opened Doncaster and Hull. And I went south and I opened Sheffield. So we expanded the Yorkshire region over the last few years, and now that's even grown further. And one story that always comes to mind for me was when our president at Leeds at the time said, "We don't want another club in Leeds. It will destroy the club if we have another club in Leeds." No, we need another club in Leeds. No, 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 no. That's what he said. Until he became area director. And the goal of an area director is to open a new club. So then it was, we need to open a new club. Do we? Yes, we do. Great stuff. So we then spawned another club in Leeds, and then it spawned another club in Leeds. So over the years, we've started to expand, and we'd like to now continue that tradition into Wakefield. So we are here in Wakefield. The club doesn't run without people helping me as the Toastmaster. The Toastmaster role is to really introduce everybody and to keep the meeting on track, make sure that everybody is working together. You will see some people think is a little bit cliquish, you might see, but as you come to the stage, we tend to shake hands. You don't have to shake hands. Now, since COVID, everybody's been a bit scared of touching people, but if you want to shake hands, that's fine. If you don't, just signal, just bow, whatever it takes that you want to just indicate that you are now taking control of the stage. And that's how we manage the control of the stage, by shaking hands normally. But we also have a round of applause. And as Dan did, get the room going. It also keeps you warm as well. So when you're exercising those hands, then you are also giving that applause to the speaker to encourage them to stand up on the stage and speak. That's what we're about. It's a speaking group. I'd now like to introduce one of the helpers this evening. It's a slight change from the agenda, but the most important thing that we do have in Toastmasters is a plan to keep on time. So I'd like to introduce our timekeeper for this evening, is Gilly Caldicott. So if you please welcome Gilly.
We've all been to meetings where the speaker says, and my last point before we start the break is, and 20 minutes later, they're still rabbiting on. We've all been to events where it was supposed to finish at 6 o'clock, and at 6:30, you're starting to think, am I actually going to get out of the car park? Am I going to be locked in? Am I actually going to get home for my tea? Am I going to miss my train? So part of the Toastmasters meeting is to encourage people to speak to time. And to do that, I have some cards. So if you look at your agenda, you'll see in the right-hand column, it tells you how long people should be speaking for. And Phil's doing incredibly well at the minute because he's well within time for his Toastmasters area. But if you look at Alice's first speaker timings, 5, 6, 7. 6 is her minimum time to speak for, and I will be showing this green card that very helpfully says green for people who are colourblind at the back, so Alice knows she's reached her minimum time. When she's got to the middle time, 6 minutes, I'll show the yellow or amber card to say, you really need to be thinking about wrapping it up now. And then at the final time, the red card will go up, and that tells Alice or whoever's speaking that they have 30 seconds to wrap up and sit down to stay within their allotted time span. Michael, as Topics Master, will explain the topics timings after the break. For now, that's all you need to know about timing. Please be time aware and be respectful of other people's time.
Thanks, Gilly. Great stuff. So we now have a plan to have a speaker, and Alice is our first speaker. In Toastmasters over the last few years, so Gareth, you probably haven't seen this, we have a new system. It's called Pathways. There's some leaflets on the back when we get into the break. And each speaker improves through what we term evaluation. and feedback, and that's how we grow as speakers. So I'll just ask my Sergeant at Arms to hand a few of those out. If you just take one each.
All of the things that I've learned about my own communication skills, public speaking, presenting, have come from Toastmasters as my beginning. Really grateful for the opportunity to have grown through the experiences I've had there, and I've found that you'll get three things. You'll get communication skills, you'll learn how to present better, how to deliver messages and ideas, how to structure content.
To be able to express your opinion. What did Alice do well? What do you think she could improve? And that's where we get the feedback and help from to improve our speaking skills. And on the other side, you'll then see there are some very quick evaluation pointers. And I've also given you the evaluation criteria on the back sheet, so you can have a look at that. So everybody usually marks everybody at 5, exemplary, but actually that's not going to help you as a speaker. What you need to know is, what am I doing and how can I improve? So just have a look at that. It will give you a chance to review your evaluation, and at the end as well, what you can then do is hand that to Alice so she's got extra feedback. But during the meeting, I've asked Jilly to do a little session on evaluation, and what I'm hoping is that we'll then be able to go through this and have some feedback and a little workshop on evaluation using this form. So before you hand it in, so fill the form in as Alice is speaking, and we will now move into our Pathways. Now, Pathways is a program of speaking. We all go through the pathways. There are right through from the icebreaker through to established speeches. And
the club supports new members through those existing members we've got. They know what it's like to be a new member. And a true Toastmaster, it isn't about themselves, it's about everybody else. How do we help the people? And the first thing you can do for a new member is to let them understand that every one of us were nervous when we first came. And some of us, well, most of us, are still nervous even now. What we've got with experience is how to control the nerves, use them as a positive rather than a negative, and also how to put a face on that people think, oh, aren't they so confident, when in actual fact inside they're just the same as a brand new member. They've just learned how to use techniques to control what goes on
in Toastmasters. So we're all aiming to achieve DTM at some point, and tonight we now have the chance and the opportunity to get on that first step by giving somebody feedback through a speech. So with her speech entitled 3 Lessons from My Time as VPE, please welcome Alice Lowe.
Fellow Toastmasters, guests and friends. As part of my Pathways project, I was asked to serve in a leadership role for at least 6 months, gather a 360-degree feedback, create a succession plan, and then reflect on the experience. Tonight, I want to share with you the journey, what this journey has taught me. Not in 10 lessons, not in 5, but in 3. 3 lessons that have shaped me as a leader, and I hope will inspire you as this brand new club begins its own leadership journey. When I first stepped into the role of Vice President of Education, I thought it would be simple. My succession plan even makes it look simple. Encourage on pathways, 2 hours per fortnight. Create agenda, 10 minutes every 2 weeks. Sign off projects once every few weeks. But the reality is that the VPE is the quiet engine of the club. The 360-degree evaluations reflected this again and again. Alice essentially keeps meetings running. Meeting organisation skills are excellent. Always do what you say you're going to do. I didn't realise how much this mattered to me until the first time we had multiple last-minute dropouts, a missing Toastmaster, and a timer who thought that the role was optional. Yet somehow the meeting still happened. And that's when I learned my first lesson. Leadership isn't about being perfect, it's about being dependable. Organisation isn't glamorous, it isn't loud, but it creates stability, and stability creates confidence, not just in the leader, but in everyone around them. The second theme in my evaluations was unmistakable: enthusiasm. Apparently, my enthusiasm is boundless, exhilarated, contagious, and occasionally persistent. I choose to take that as a compliment. Enthusiasm is what launched speechathons at York. It's what helped members progress through pathways. It's what has helped open this brand new club in Wakefield. And it's what kept me going on days when my health or energy were running low. But enthusiasm isn't about energy, it's about belief. Belief in the club, belief in the members, belief in what Toastmasters can do for people. One evaluator wrote, "You make people feel valued." Another said, "You go out of your way to help members achieve their goals." That meant more to me than any rating could, because enthusiasm isn't just something you feel, it's something you give. Now, the third lesson, the one that appears in almost every evaluation, the one that made me laugh, nod, and occasionally hide my head in my hands. Alice, less is more. Apparently, I have a slight tendency to over-explain, give more detail than necessary, think ahead instead of staying fully present, turn any other business into Alice's observations and biography. One evaluator wrote, "Sometimes people just want to share their thoughts without being fixed." Another said, "Perhaps being a little bit more concise." This feedback was a gift, because it taught me that the most important lesson of all:
How do you listen to a high quality speech, 90 seconds later stand up and deliver a 3-minute comprehensive, helpful, constructive evaluation? I'm not sure you're going to find out tonight, but we'll give it a good go. Thank you, Alice, for taking us on a journey through your Toastmasters experience. I love hearing people's experiences, leadership lessons and journeys. And what we got there was a sequence of lessons and learnings that took us to, well, we can all become through Toastmasters, but it's one meeting, one role, one brave decision at a time. What I loved about this and what made it a great speech for my listening was the clarity of structure from the outset. You always know a good speech when, in my old dad's words, you get up, you tell them what you're going to tell them, you tell them, and then you tell them what you've just told them. And that's exactly what you did. So you got up and you told us what you were going to share, you told us that you were going to distill it down into 3 main lessons, and you signposted that very clearly throughout. That's a great structure because it's easy to follow and it's easy to absorb. So thank you for doing that, because it was very easy for us. You had slides. Now, what I liked about this was that you had them, we didn't see them. I don't think we needed them because you were the storyteller. And so what I also liked about that was that you balanced looking at the notes you'd made, but you were very careful and considerate in looking up, making good eye contact with the audience. And this is quite a wide room. So what I liked was that you were poised enough to make reference and then to make eye contact across what is quite a wide space. So that was really well done and good practice. Your clarity of voice is excellent. The acoustics in this room are a little bit echoey because it is a larger room, but I didn't feel for a moment that I lost anything of what you said. I heard it clearly, it was paced well, and you talked about things like pauses, listening, letting silence do some of the work. You did that. You paused, you gave that breath, and you demonstrated excellently what some of those skills are when they do work. I'm a sucker for a rhetorical flourish. I was a literature student, I'm a rhetoric student. I love listening for patterns of language. You had it throughout. So you had rules of 3 sentences, you had lists of adjectives describing your communication style. I like the contrasting sentences as well. It's not about this, it's about belief. It's not about leadership's not this, leadership is this. So you had those really nice contrasts in there as well. Now we get to the really difficult question, which is how do we, and I don't ask the question, how do we improve this speech? I think that's a redundant question. I ask, how do we help this speaker to improve? Because if you improve the speaker, you improve every speech they ever give. So my recommendation to you based on tonight is this was very much it did exactly what it needed to do speech. This is not anything that's reflective of what you've done tonight. It's reflective of a wider journey because you've done the biggest steps. The improvements now are the tiny ones. My only recommendation to you would be a couple of quick things. One would be experiment with the lower register of the voice. Very strong, very easy to hear, but occasionally a little vulnerability might just be explored. I think that might be a nice thing to experiment with. And all I would say as well is I love anecdotes and I love people's stories. Look for more opportunities to tell your story. And I think we'll really find out even more about you, which I look forward to doing. Thank you very much.
And that's how we learn. So hopefully Alice can now take that feedback. Keep hold of your sheets for the next session, because what I'm now going to do is ask Jilly to run this next bit. And really, I didn't ask her to do anything. I just threw her in at the deep end. So if Simon thought he was being thrust into the deep end, Jilly has been thrown into a chasm. So I've no idea what to expect. I'm hoping that it might be something that I had in my mind, but then I didn't articulate that beforehand. However, we are now here to hear some excellent workshop feedback on feedback. So please welcome Jilly Caldicott.
I'm going to make no apology for getting on my soapbox for a moment. As a learning and development professional, I feel very, very strongly about the power of evaluation. Michael will tell you it's the powerhouse of Toastmasters. I believe if you don't give people feedback on what they do well, on where they can improve, you are cheating somebody of an opportunity to get better at whatever it is you're giving them feedback on. And I work with a vast array of people, and I get some students on my courses who go, yeah, but I don't want to be horrible to somebody, and I don't want to tell them that something that might upset them. No, the message is, this is where you can improve. This is where it all went horribly wrong in some instances, not in Toastmasters, but in the real world of work. How do you deliver that message? And that for me is what evaluation's about. Evaluation is an opinion. It's your opinion. And the person who receives that can choose whether to act on it or whether to think, can't be bothered, nah. But as the recipient of feedback, if you keep getting the same feedback, Michael Clark with his washing machine hands, then maybe you should pay a bit of attention to it and think about doing something a bit different. I can say that to Michael, he's my other half. And whatever you're doing, you will be observing, you'll be noticing things. As a L&D person, I sit in workshops and there's a little voice in the back of my head that goes, not sure I'd have done that, or that's fantastic, I'm going to nick that. At the end of a Toastmaster's speech, you will have an amount of feedback that you want to give somebody. But in an allotted time of 2 to 3.5 minutes, you can probably only give them this much feedback. And you've got to decide what bits of this are going to make the biggest difference to the speaker. And then you've got to work out what's the best way to deliver that so that the speaker can learn from it. And in a Toastmasters Club, if it's a verbal evaluation, so that the other people listening to that evaluation can learn from it too. So Simon's evaluation of Alice wasn't just for Alice, it was about all of us, because we can learn from that, our speeches as well. So whilst I digest some of my feedback, I'd like you to have a look at your notes that you made on Alice's presentation, and I'd like you to pick out 2 things that you think will be most useful to Alice. One thing that you think she did really well, and one thing that she could do differently that would increase her level of ability, increase her performance, whatever it is. So something to improve, something she did well. When you've identified what those 2 things are, just have a little think about how you're going to deliver that feedback in such a way that it lands with Alice and she doesn't feel that we're all having a go at her, that she feels motivated and inspired by that feedback, but also so that the rest of the audience can think about it in the context of their own speaking. And I would like this side of the room, including Alice, to get into a little huddle and consolidate your feedback into one short feedback speech. And I'd like this side of the room to get into a little huddle and consolidate your feedback also.
So that was your humour, and that really hit one. That was good. Yeah. For me, I thought the speech itself it was said already.
I'd like to start with this group, somebody other than Simon who's already delivered his valuation, to just give Alice your consolidated feedback. And I'm guessing that's you, Adam.
Yes. Great. Alice, our feedback was we really enjoyed how reflective you were and quite vulnerable in how you shared your strengths and weaknesses that people had written as a private note to you, and you shared them with us. So we appreciated that. We thought your pacing was excellent. It was really clear, not rushed. I understood everything straight away, and we just felt it would have been a little bit more impactful if you'd used a bit more hand gestures, maybe a bit of movement, and particularly given that you had the table in front of you with your slides on. So we'd hope that you'd maybe get a little bit off copy just to be even more real and more impactful. But overall, it was really great, and particularly the summary and I said in my little feedback that it was very tweetable in a way. You had very memorable little statements, but they came from a really good place. I think just repeat them more, because we're all tired and have limited memory and things. And you said your speech was 3 things, and we wanted those 3 things repeated to make it even more memorable. But yeah, great.
Thank you, Adam. And somebody other than Alice from this side, please. Have the lollipop or drumstick.
We loved it. We thought it was really engaging. A lot has been said already. The structure was really good. There was really good signposting. It was the power of 3, the sequencing. There was a really good humor in there, which I found really infectious. It was a combination of pearls of wisdom, but also self-deprecation. So I think we all really enjoyed that, were entertained, but also learned from it. So those are the good things. One of the things you touched on as well is the positioning of the laptop, where that might have been differently. I thought you are a confident speaker, but you could probably have used the laptop a little bit less or put it somewhere that it doesn't quite distract. But all in all, a really good speech, really well delivered and well received. Thank you. Thanks, Julie. Excellent session. In the next part of the agenda, I'll just put a quick 5 minutes about the sign-up process. We'd like to encourage you to join Wakefield. So for those of you who have moved into the area, for those of you who live far away but you want to come back, welcome back. For those of you who would like to join us at Wakefield, we'd like to start to build this group in this area. What would I say to somebody wanting to join Toastmasters? Don't think about it. It's probably one of the best experiences you'll ever have. It's probably like something you've never experienced before, to be honest. You'll come to a meeting, you'll probably be all unaware of what's going on, and everything will just bypass you at great speed. But actually, when you sit back, this is a place to learn in a very comfortable environment. Where we were before, they've now put a price tag on that, so means it's a valuable resource. So please come along. We have some sign-up forms at the back. I'd like to encourage everybody that wants to be part of Wakefield Waymakers to sign that form tonight, and then we'll grab your money later. Just at this point in time, we'll just really need to get an indication as to who would like to join, who would like to be with us on this journey, and we'd like to encourage you to bring more people.
You'll get confidence in your ability to use those skills and the courage to use them more often. But you'll also get connection. And I feel like that's one of the most important parts of a Toastmasters community, is the way that people connect with each other, the stories that you share, and the people that you meet along the way.
We've also been on other events as well, and great to see Gareth here. Let's hope we can get some more people at this meeting at the next time. The next meeting is on the bottom of the agenda. I think it's 13th of April. The intention is to do it the 2nd and 4th. The intention is to do it the 2nd and 4th Monday. And we thought we were being really good about that, not clashing with anybody. And then the first thing that we had was somebody from, was it Leeds? Said, Doncaster. Yeah, that's our meeting now. Oh no, you can't win them all. So we're going to cross over as we get more and more clubs in the region. Some clubs may clash. So hopefully we can get people, encourage people. And if you want to do a speech at Wakefield as well, no, Simon's volunteered that he's on level 5. To learn what, you might ask? Well, to learn public speaking skills, help give you confidence, and that will help you in your own real world life. Because what happens in real world is we need to become more confident. We also help people with leadership skills, running meetings, being able to direct and control people, meetings, and all these things are very important roles that we can then use those skills in the real world. I'd like to now just introduce our table topic master. Please welcome Michael J. Clark.
Table topics. I'm guessing most of us in the room know what it is. Anybody need it explaining or reminding? Gareth, can you remember? You're still having therapy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fine. It's the third core part of any Toastmasters meeting. We've had the formal speeches, we've had the evaluation of those speeches, now we come to what some class as the fun part of the evening, others class as being the terrifying part of the meeting. Table topics, Toastmasters version of impromptu speaking. Speaking off the cuff for 1 to 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes in total. I'll explain the cards in a moment, but what is it? Well, if you're walking down the corridor and your boss suddenly says, what do you think about this? And you go, would be better if you could actually, even if it doesn't make that much sense, if you could actually say something that your boss thinks, oh, they've got an idea on that. It just helps us, and it's great. Tonight, what I am going to do, because we haven't got any total virgins here, is those of you who haven't spoken yet, or been up to the front, you're going to do one. But I have got enough to actually get the others as well. So we are going to have a bit of fun. They are fairly easy because I got told, being the first meeting, don't make it too hard, for which I am renowned in York of, I think it's easy, and what comes out is, I'm told, is that was hard, so I don't do it for another 2 years. But tonight I have tried to find something that is quite easy. Yes, I've seen the red card. Do you know, this is what I have to put up with. So I will be amongst you. I'm not going to ask for volunteers. I'm just going to pick on you, and that's what we're going to be doing. Mr. Toastmaster.
Welcome everyone. Today we're exploring the 7 Toastmasters Club officer roles. Not just what they are, but how each one builds real-world leadership skills. This is especially useful for new clubs such as Wakefield, or members who are considering stepping into a leadership role, which I'm hoping some of the new members will be doing. Toastmasters isn't just about speaking. In fact, our motto is Toastmasters, where leaders are made. It's a place to practice leadership in a safe environment. And each role will give you hands-on experience with skills that employers absolutely love you to have, from teamwork to planning to communication. The first role, the president, the vision setter. They set the tone for the club. This role mirrors real-world leadership, managing teams, resolving issues, and keeping everyone aligned with shared goals. The Vice President of Education, the strategist. As I said before in my speech, it's the engine of the club. It teaches you project management, coaching, long-term planning, and skills that can translate directly into a professional environment. The Vice President of Membership is the relationship builder. This is the person who gives the first impression of the club. This role builds confidence in networking, persuasion, and relationship building, which is essential in many careers. This is going to likely be the first person that anybody contacts when they want to visit the club, and hopefully will be the first person that they meet when they walk in the door. The Vice President of Public Relations is the storyteller. They help the club shine in the community. It's a perfect role for developing marketing and communication skills, and it can be very fun and creative if you want to be creative on social media or with videos and such as the video that Dan has made of the walk from the train station in Wakefield. The secretary is the organizer. They keep everything running smoothly behind the scenes. The role strengthens administrative and organisational skills that are valuable in any workplace, in any career line. The treasurer is the financial steward. They make sure that the financial health of the club stays healthy. And if it's not staying healthy, coming up with strategies to help the club become healthy again. This role builds confidence with numbers, budgeting, and financial responsibility. The Sergeant-at-Arms, what Dan is doing this evening, is the host. This is the first person who will speak at any meeting. They ensure that the meeting runs smoothly by making sure that the room is prepared, that all the key players know where they're supposed to be, that things like a projector is set up if it's needed, that the projector is talking to the computer, and that was on me, sorry. Things like that. It's really useful for developing logistical and operational skills, because often the Sergeant at Arms is the person who is talking to the venue to ensure that what is required by the club is presented at each meeting. Every officer role is an opportunity to grow. You don't need to feel ready, you just need to be willing. Leadership in Toastmasters is learned by doing, and every role helps you build skills that will last a lifetime. Toastmasters doesn't just build speakers, it builds leaders as well.
But I'd like to now introduce our windmill for the evening, our table topic master, who's then going to run this part of the meeting. Please welcome Michael J. Clark.
Right, let's get on with the fun part of the evening. We've had all this serious stuff which we've taken on board, so now we're going to get to do a bit of table topics impromptu. And it will be the timekeeper at 1 minute will give you the green card, at 1.5 minutes the yellow card, and at 2 minutes the red card, at which point you've got 30 seconds to get off if you want to be involved in the vote for the best table topic speaker, which I see on the agenda. We are actually going to have a vote on that, so do keep within that time. There is an overall theme that I have got for tonight, because we were hoping that there would be lots of people who've never seen table topics impromptu speaking before. I was told make it easy. And I have had this vetted by my partner that it is easy. It has an overall theme which is simple, which is if. And each of the questions that I'm going to ask you will start with if. So let's look around and say, Dan, you can have the vote. Sit. Can I say, for those of you, if you can't remember or you're inexperienced on it, take the question, I will read it twice and then introduce you. Take that time, sit in your seat, don't get up. If you really want to be interesting, then set off round the back, round there, give yourself as much time as possible. But if you think you've got what you want to speak, that hand was starting to do that for a moment then, wasn't it? Is just come up and speak. Compose yourself and speak. So Dan, if you could be invisible for a day, what would you do? If you could be invisible for a day, what could you do? Dan.
If I could be invisible for a day, what could I do and why? Well, I suppose everyone here is going to start jumping to their own conclusions. I don't know what's going on in your brains. Maybe something filthy, maybe something quite clean. I don't know. But I want to share a little bit of a personal story with you. I am what's called a remote worker. I have no colleagues. And for the past 5 years, I have consistently sat at home, no colleagues all week. And so I really have started to miss evenings like this, in and around the workplace. There's little water cooler chats where you might have a table topic and you'd start speaking and going on. So what I would do is not going to be anything sinister or anything particularly weird. It's going to be to come to one of your workplaces and just be a fly on the wall. I'd like to explore and listen to your little conversations, hear about maybe what you had for breakfast. Did you have breakfast before you came? Did you pack it in your lunchbox and bring it for lunch? And live vicariously through you, because I no longer have that opportunity. We'll be looking forward to doing and working more in and around the public moving forward. But for now, that's my answer. It would be to be a fly on the wall in one of your workplaces. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Dan. Chanaka, if you could be any age again for 1 week, what age would that be and why? If you could be any age again for 1 week, what age would that be and why? Please welcome Chanaka.
I was planning on doing all that round, Michael, but now that you said it, I didn't want to. So you took that away from me. 21. If I could be any age, again, 21. Because when I was 21, I lived in the Maldives on my own, working, had a really nice job, didn't pay much, but I had so many nice friends, Sri Lankans working there, living there. In the morning, somebody would call me and say, let's go for tea. That was a thing in the Maldives. You had little tea shops. You go have a cup of tea, eat something always, not just a cup of tea, eat something. Go home for lunch at about 1 o'clock. Have a nap. Yes, they have a siesta built in that job role. Come back at about 3 o'clock. 4 o'clock, somebody else would call me and say, yeah, sure, different person this. Shall I go have a cup of tea? Yes, of course, we'll go and have a cup of tea. And maybe a sandwich as well. Finish work at about 7 o'clock in the evening, go home, have a wash, have dinner, go out with more friends. Remember, Male, the capital, is 2 square miles. Everybody goes by bicycle, really small, can't even imagine how small it is. 7 o'clock dinner, go out. At about 10 o'clock, someone will say, I'm feeling a bit peckish. Would you like a pepper steak or something? Yeah, of course I would like a pepper steak. This, what you see today in front of you is a result of that, and not just a result of that, me ensuring that I maintained it.
Thank you, Chanaka. Lindsay. One of the pleasures of being Table Topics Master is when you pick somebody out and they go, oh. For some reason it has that wonderful pleasure about them. Lindsay, if you could go back in time and talk to yourself at the age of 10, what advice would you give yourself? If you could go back in time and talk to yourself at the age of 10, what advice would you give yourself? Lindsay.
My lollipop. If I could go back in time and give myself advice at the age of 10, what would I tell myself? I don't think when I was 10 I would have listened to anybody anyway, so I'm not that sure that going back and telling myself anything at the age of 10. At the age of 10 I was quite naughty at school. I was always being caught out doing things that I shouldn't be up to. I can remember in the school dinner hall one time, we used to have tables in our dining hall and ladies would come and serve us with food. So I thought I'd quite like the desserts. There was 10 of us at this table. And I said, come on, just pass them down, pass them. So we're passing them down and people were having them on their laps. So we had, I don't know how many desserts we had there. But they found out, didn't they? I mean, the lady who was serving thought to herself, wait a minute, there's only 10 people there, and how many times have I been here with my dessert tray? So the headmistress said, all right then, who did this? So I'm shaking, it's me. Will anybody telling me? So I didn't say anything, and I sat there quite quietly. And someone said, and the headmistress said, if you don't own up to who it was on this table that arranged this, then I'm just going to punish everybody. And I thought, oh, I can't have that on my conscience. So I said, it was me. I might have known, she said. And I thought, oh, that tells you a story about me at the age of 10. So I guess, to wrap up, if I were giving myself advice about what to do and how to behave at the age of 10, I would say, stop being naughty. No, I wouldn't. Because I think being naughty is one of the great pleasures in life. And I'm naughty lots of times. I was naughty at the conference, wasn't I, Dan? Very, very naughty. And I loved it from the moment it started till the moment it ended. So, telling myself at the age of 10, please continue being naughty, because when you get old, like I am now, it's great fun to be naughty because nobody criticises you, nobody says it, nobody dares say anything to me about it. So that's what I would tell myself at the age of 10. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. I will suffer for that next week. Gareth, if you could have any food in the world, what would it be and why? If you could have any food in the world, what would it be and why? Gareth.
This is relatively easy and it's relatively local. If we get anybody that's from Huddersfield, there's a place in Huddersfield called Marston's Chicken. There you go. Now, the reason this place is phenomenal is this was Kentucky Fried Chicken before Kentucky Fried Chicken arrived. And they are the best chicken wings on the planet, bar none. And if I could eat just one more food for the rest of my life, it would be Marston's Chicken. But I think with a lot of things, it's not just the food, it's the association with it. When I was younger, it was the first place I remember my dad taking me for something to eat. It was a trip out. We lived in Batley, and to go to Huddersfield was a nice drive in countryside. I think it was the taste of the chicken wings was one thing, but the banter with my dad, the fighting with my sister over the, you know, the chicken wings that are the fat bit at the end, not the silly scrawny thing. I had all the fat ones, she had all the scrawny ones. And for some reason, I've stayed like this. She hasn't. So clearly the little bit of the wing is the one that's got the most calories in it. But if I could have one dish, one food from all over the world, and I've eaten in many places. I've been in Michelin star restaurants, I've been on beaches in Ibiza, I've caught fish and eaten in the ocean. It would be chicken wings from Marston's with hot chili sauce. Thank you.
What is it called? Marston's?
Marston's Chicken.
Okay. Yeah, I've got to look from the back. No, probably not going anyway. Adam, if the whole world were listening, what would you say? If the whole world was listening, what would you say? Adam.
If the whole world was listening, what would I say? I think anyone who has been given a platform, they think that they have an answer that the world is missing. And I'd probably be tempted to say this thing or that thing and try to find the perfect thing that's going to work for everyone. But I know that there isn't something that works for everyone, and the world is so vibrant and different and unique, different perspectives. So I'd probably not say a word in my speaking voice, but anyone who knows me knows that I'm a singer. And there's something about music, even if you don't have lyrics or words or a real message, that can connect deeper than language. It's got its own musical language. And even across genres of different types of music, it can impact you. So I think even if you didn't really like a particular genre, I think you're still going to be impacted by music. And I think it would be a fun experience to be able to share a bit of music with the world in a way that brings everyone together, because they would have all heard the same thing. Back when there was television and people only watched certain channels, there was only a small amount. And these days, there's so many choices and we're more disparate and unconnected. So I think it would be a real rare opportunity to allow the whole world to hear some music. And I'd probably sing something from the 17th century. It was my favourite music is 1750 or earlier. So if it's after 1750, it's a bit too modern for me. But that didn't have any of the whizzy technology and the sampling and the variety. You had to rely on the power of just and the simplicity of the music that could be created. So I'd sing something from around probably 1605, a bit of Victoria's Requiem, and I'd think that everyone would be impacted by it in some way. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Yeah, I don't like anything after 10 to 6, I must admit. But that's... Arnold, wakey wakey. If you ruled the world, what is the first thing you would change and why? If you ruled the world, Harry Seacombe coming out, what is the first thing you would change and why? Please welcome Arnold.
Well, if I could make a change, I will give everybody the same passport. I will give everybody, let's say, the same money. And I don't want to be political, but get rid of that stupid dollar. And the reason why is because I traveled to Wakefield and I paid £2 for diesel. That's ridiculous. And I think if I'm going to be not the next Trump, but let's say the next president of the world, I'm going to change that all. And you know what? Petrol, free for everyone. Because everybody deserves to travel, to explore the world with that one passport, with that kind of currency that we can use, the world currency, and stop being a bully just because of money, oil, or whatsoever. So, don't make me a president because, yeah, I'm gonna kick some bottoms. So, if I be honest, and if I could be the next world president or change the world, well, I'm gonna start in Wakefield, getting my votes, handing you out, or we call it, well, you can't say bribery, but let's say, give you a little bit to spend on something nice like chicken, and give you all a passport to travel around the world without any limitations and share the love. Thank you.
Thank you, Arnold. Conrad, if you could be any creature, which would you be and why? If you could be any creature, which would you be and why? Conrad.
If I could be any creature, and why? Instinctively, you would think I would be a lion, king of the jungle, and roar. But no, I have never been partial to the lions. I like an elephant. An elephant is big, yes, that might not be a good thing. No one messes with an elephant. But an elephant has great memory, and that really appeals to me. Everyone loves the image of an elephant. They're big and they're strong and they can cause all sorts of damage, especially in the woods in Knysna and South Africa. But you also think of the harmless elephant. I think it was Dumbo, the flying elephant. Very cute. And then you also think an elephant can be vulnerable. It can be a little rat that goes up the trunk and that really scares the elephant. But for me, I think an elephant really appeals. It's friendly, it remembers, no one messes with it, and ultimately it is worthy of ruling the jungle. Thank you.
Thank you, Conrad, and I'm just going to finish with Simon because I just want to make him suffer, that's all. So, yeah. I was going to say, no, I'm not going to be derogatory, honestly. Now, if you could meet any person, past or present, who would it be and why? If you could meet any person, past or present, who would it be and why? Simon.
Well, I've got billions to choose from and only 2.5 minutes. How do you reconcile those two things? I'm a keen runner. I'd love to know how to run quicker. So perhaps you'd maybe want to meet Roger Bannister, find out how on earth he ran that mile in under 4 minutes. Maybe I'd want to meet Keely Hodgkinson, who's currently tearing up the 800-metre world records. I'm a passionate musician. I like to play the piano. Maybe you'd want to talk to Mozart or Chopin or Beethoven. But actually, the person that I would admire to meet, perhaps in a speaking context, maybe a Barack Obama, somebody who can command the English language, somebody who can turn a rhetorical phrase or a rule of three and make it into a masterclass. But when I reflect on my life's journey and I think about where I am, where I've been and where I want to go, the person that I most want to meet is somebody I've already met. That's my wife of 13 years. I met her when I was 17, at a time when I had no idea where my life was going, and she didn't either. But together we met, we dated, and 4 years later we were married at the age of 21. Those 13 years have been filled with moments of joy, some moments of sorrow, some moments of heartache and pain. But overall, the journey has been one that I wouldn't change for the world. And I think about what the next 13 years are going to look like, and I still don't know. But that's the exciting part of life, isn't it? That sometimes you don't know. But as long as you've got somebody beside you that you can turn to, rely on, head on the shoulder, hand in hand, whether that's a parent, a child, a partner, a friend, a colleague, someone that you trust, then you're lucky to have met that person. Hold on to them, because the world is an uncertain place and you never know what's going to happen. But if you're lucky enough to have found that someone, whether it is a friend, whoever it is to you, then make sure that they know that you care about them, because you just never know what the future is going to bring. And I think we live in that world now where it's telling you that we really don't know what the future is going to bring. But if you've got that person, look after them and make sure they look after you, and I think you'll do all right.
So I would say to a new member as well is do it. I have a saying, and someone say, in Yorkshire, it's, if you do now happens. What it means, if you do nothing, nothing happens. I'm an accountant, I want value for money, I want something for my money. If you spend your money on your membership fee and you do nothing with it, nothing happens. So you need to do something, step by step by step. And members, good members, will help you along the way, give you advice, give you support, tell you where you could improve and all those things. So that's what you can do. That's how members help new members.
So don't hesitate. Come along to a meeting, come and join Toastmasters and be part of the largest, friendliest group in the world that will give you confidence. And we create leaders, we create speakers, but what we really do is we create confidence through communication. Join Toastmasters, it's the best thing you'll ever do.
So I've been a member for 11 years. What will the next 11 years look like? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure in 11 years' time I'll probably tell you that I'm still a member of Toastmasters, because I'm really glad I came, I'm really glad about what I've learned, and I'm really glad about what I can now share with other people as part of just being me, but also in the job that I do as well.
So thank you all for coming. Take care going home. See you at the next meeting.